Guess what? It's time for you to wake up.
Give me your wig. Give me your wig. Give me your wigs. You don't know what to do with it.
It is the weekend, and I know that I said this already before, but the days are going by extremely quickly. I don't understand how this whole week felt like one long ass day, and I can only imagine that many of you are just like me in that your sleep schedule is all messed up. It's just everything is just, I don't know. I think a good word to describe this year is disorienting, okay? The way that time is passing during this quarantine is definitely disorienting. Make sure that you take yourselves over to patreon.com/AdrianExpression. I'm just gonna let you know that things seem to be going as planned. So I would, especially if you're a patron, I would definitely look out for an announcement this weekend. Early content, extra content, podcasts, all of that. You already know the drill. You can find all of that at patreon.com/AdrianExpression. I can't believe that some people were mad at me for tweeting out spoilers while I was watching How to Get Away with Murder on Twitter. I'm just like, I'm live tweeting. What do you expect? Either way, the last 5 minutes of How to Get Away with Murder definitely made jaws drop across the country. And speaking of jaws dropping, I will just place this TikTok right here. I don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to see what's going on in this particular video. We can move right along. Everybody's turning against Annalise as if she was not sitting there mopping up their messes that they have been making since season 1. She does not deserve that type of disrespect. Even though she did say, she was like, girl, I'm running. Like she was Usain Bolt. She ran on over to Mexico. But at the end of the day, girls, you need to put some respect on a queen when you see one, sus, okay? Miss Tyson, of course, was stealing the show. Favorite line of the whole episode from her was when she said, that S.O.B. Thought it was funny, don't want to make my whole video about that show, but speaking of funny, Sylveria Jacobs, she is the Prime Minister of Sint Maarten. She made a hilarious speech or announcement or directive, whatever you want to call it, to her people. Now, for those of you who don't know where Sint Maarten is, it's right here, girl. Look at the maps, everybody focus. This country has about like 40,000, 41,000 people in it. It is one of the 4 constituent countries that make up the Kingdom of Netherlands. And let me tell you something. When Miss Jacobs was up there speaking, telling them girls, please stay inside, stay home. What are y'all doing? Stop moving. If you don't have bread, if you don't have the bread that you like, you need to eat some crackers or sardines.
Simply stop moving. If you do not have the type of bread you like in your house, eat crackers. If you do not have bread, eat cereal. Eat oats. Sardines. You're supposed to have a 2-week supply for hurricane. The water's not gonna stop. The toilet paper is still in the stores. What you need is food. I
was screaming laughing because, as like many of y'all know, I have Caribbean heritage, so when I was sitting there listening to that video, it felt like I was being scolded. It felt like, you know, they took me back to when I was like 10, 9 years old and I broke something by accident, or I was touching things in the supermarket. You know what I'm saying?
You know, if you touch nothing when we go inside, yeah. Who can't hear must feel.
That was the type of vibes that I was getting from this whole announcement. I can't believe, but at the same time, I can't believe that sis went up there and said, you know what?
Me they tell all I want if you make sure I say you have your food, them stock up.
And if you don't like it, you can eat oats and sardines. Oh, that's the type of leadership we definitely needed, or still need in the United States of Trash America. Let's move right along to Raven and Kiely. I'm not gonna speak too much about it because honestly, I have no idea of the intricacies and the depth of all of this Cheetah Girls drama. To me, it's just like Raven is definitely over it. A lot of the girls seem over Kiely, but recently Raven went on live with Kiely. I don't know how that ended up happening, but they ended up talking things out because it's been some weird feud shit going on for years apparently. Kiely saying this, you know, I'm a firecracker. I'm an acquired taste. And it's just like, if Kiely says, you know, if you're an acquired taste, the acquisition is taking a long time. I mean, multiple sources, multiple people, multiple groups. You know, they had a taste of what you had to offer. It's like a baby, newborn teeth, they spit it back up, sis, and it's no shade, it's just what happened. So it was, of course, shady while they were talking it out, but it wasn't shady to the point where they were being vicious towards each other in the live. It was definitely like Raven was so over it. You could tell by the way that she was moving and the things that she was saying. Okay, sweetheart, I released it, but by the time the live went off, this is what happened.
Wow.
Sis started laughing. Sis said, you know, this was the first time that she's ever really spoken to her like that since the Cheetah Girls, and it was just a lot. So I just wanted to let y'all know that if you see that reaction, that meme reaction, because they turned into a meme so quickly, if you see that reaction popping up and flying around on social media, this is exactly where it came from. So I'm sure many of you have seen that there was this whole like Weeknd versus Usher thing going on, and I had to just do a little bit more digging to figure out what exactly was said and why the girls were acting the way that they were acting. So we got to start from the beginning. I had to take notes on this shit. So the Weeknd apparently was doing like some promo in Variety for his album, and it was going well. Things were pretty standard and normal until we got to this part. Okay, the Weeknd said, "I heard Climax, that Usher song, and was like, holy fuck, that's a Weeknd song. It was very flattering and I knew I was doing something right, but I also got angry. But the older I got, I realized it's a good thing." So before I get further into this, of course the Weeknd came out later and said that he was misunderstood and his comments were taken out of context. But it seems like a lot of people, sometimes they be knowing what they're doing. Because in my opinion, I'm like, if you wanted to be understood in a certain way, you would have said things in a certain way. And many people have done this, not just the Weeknd. It's just like they'll say some shit in the magazine, and then when it's interpreted in a specific way, they're like, oh my goodness, how could you ever get that? I meant that. It's like, girl, like, come on. So of course his comments hit the internet, and it was just viral. The girls immediately started dragging. They were just like, you know, end of the week, girl, what are you talking about? The Weeknd could never. And so it just grew from that. Eric Bellinger, who's worked with Usher often, got up there on Instagram and created the Climax challenge. And then Usher sat back on his bed and started delivering them notes so easily and effortlessly. Everyone was like, girl, you know, now back to you, Weeknd. It was just like they wanted the mic to be handed off. Then that's when people were just like, oh, he was talking about the production. Then Diplo came out and tweeted this. The production on Climax lends itself to House of Balloons era. Of course, that's the Weeknd's era. When I heard those early records, they blew my mind. Soulful in their silences and a spacey, iconic voice that felt uniquely internet. The idea of R&B having dark edges was what I wanted to bring to Usher. Now I thought, and so many other people thought, like when I read this, I was like, okay, y'all are reaching. Y'all are reaching. The Weeknd is not the first Negro who got up here and started singing, if you want to call it that, singing over some synths and shit, some dark R&B, and even the terminology that Diplo is using, like, oh, the soulful in their silence. It's like, girl, you really want to sound fake deep, girl? It, like, this is the Weeknd is not the first nigga to be placing falsetto adjacent notes on top of these type of vibey, spacey songs. Like, please stop. Like, what are you doing? Ariel Reichshut, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, he worked with Diplo and Usher on the song, and he tweeted this. He said, I tweet this with the utmost respect for all parties involved. Climax was inspired in the room without any subconscious or conscious outside influence. So it's just, we're getting one story for one person, another story for another person. It's just like, I think that all that stuff was unnecessary. I think that if people want to be understood in a certain way, they'll say things in a certain way. I was angry, that's a Weeknd song. It's like, girl, please. The Weeknd tweeted, of course, media blows things out of proportion and takes things out of context. Usher is a king and always an inspiration, so it was flattering to hear what him and Diplo did on Climax. So it was very much like a, okay girl, you know, I saw that y'all hoes were mad about what I said, but I said what I said, Usher's a king. Like, okay, we got you, girl. I love this tweet from Usher because I feel like it's just, it's so delicious. But yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys think about this whole thing. Do you think that the Weeknd was reaching, or you think he was right? What do you think? It was a lot, girl. Speaking of things that are a lot, did you see that Mayweather is apparently going to be facing a lot of years? Now, remember I told you last video that she was over here stabbing. Don't know if she thought she was somebody's samurai or something, but she was out here stabbing NBA young boy's baby mama or something. And according to I think they're unconfirmed reports that I read, she could be facing like 99 years in prison. And I'm just like, it's never worth it. It's not worth it. Please, I don't know. If this message needs to reach somebody, dump that nigga. Don't go to jail for him. These niggas ain't doing that for y'all. These niggas ain't doing that for y'all. They gonna watch y'all go to jail and they gonna find somebody else to do the same shit you was doing. Please protect yourself. Don't go out here stabbing up other people who are in the same situation as you, being manipulated by some nigga, or were in the same situation. Please, these niggas don't care at all. They barely care about themselves. Now she facing 99 years. Girl, a whole century? I know it's highly likely that she probably won't be getting all those years, but if she did, by the time she came out of prison, if she did, the moon would be colonized, sis. I know that's not what the girls meant by I love you to the moon and back. Sit your ass down on planet Earth and go to sleep. Let's get some positivity in here, get some positive energy in here. I love the fact that Jordyn Woods was over here on The Masked Singer. Now, I do not know a lot about the intricacies of that show because I do not watch that show, but I saw a clip on social media. I just love the fact that she's reaching out and doing more and more things. I love the fact that she's trying this whole music thing. Some people are trying to come at her talking about, oh, well, her voice ain't that good, blah, blah, blah. But to me, I just love to see her rising from that whole Jenner, whatever, Kardashian situation and standing up on her own. And this is the first time that she's ever sung in front of people like that. This is what she told Hollywood Life. Not only am I covering amazing artists that I'm a fan of, but I wanted to make sure to make them proud as well as make the people back home proud, even though they don't even know it's me. Eventually, I knew that the world was going to find out that it was me, whether it was 2 episodes in, 5 episodes, or the top 8. It was scary, but it was so rewarding. I worked really hard on those days and nights. I lost sleep worrying about the next performance, but I wish I could do it all over again. It was so much fun. I hope that she goes forward and tackles even more new and exciting things. Sis stole the headlines and all she did was be herself. We love that. So the last thing we're going to be talking about is Surgeon General Jerome Adams. Now, the good sis came on here during a White House press conference to, he gave a coronavirus community of color lecture. We're gonna call it that. The coronavirus, communities of color, the CCCL. That's what he gave, Coronavirus Communities of Color Lecture. I'm gonna do some Adrian paraphrasing. Those of you who haven't seen it, you need to go watch it before you listen to what I say. It's just search Surgeon General Jerome Adams and literally, you need to watch first. If you watched it, he literally said, you Negroes, you need to sit your ass down. You brown people too, you need to sit y'all ass down with your corona having asses. That's what he said. These are some of the things he said. Y'all blackies, these are some of the things he said. You blacks get high blood pressure and you Puerto Ricans, y'all have asthma. And he whipped out that inhaler to make sure that he drives the point home. He said, stay away from alcohol and tobacco, follow the guidelines, Negroes. He said, communities of color are socially predisposed to coronavirus exposure. Kept trying to say, follow the rules, follow the rules. And this is a kicker. He said, if not for yourself, then for your abuela. And he didn't even say it like that because, gringo, do it for your granddaddy. Do it for your big mama. That's what he said, standing at the White House podium. Do it for your big mama. Do it for your pop-pop. I'm not exaggerating. He said, do it for your pop-pop. So instead of speaking to black people and communities of color like they actually have some sense, okay? Instead of being patronizing and condescending and weirdly tone deaf with your black ass, like they really wheeled his black ass out there as the token to come and preach to the Negroes. Instead of talking about, how, communities of color, they do not have as much access to healthcare, like I've been saying in so many videos, medical racism, instead of talking about the lack of access to resources in the communities as a whole, instead of talking about their overall disenfranchisement and all of those things, education, all of those things lead up to people being more vulnerable when any crisis hits. Instead of speaking about that, he went and told y'all, talking about, do it for your pop-pop, do it for your big mama. I said, well, this statistic was floating around on Twitter. New York Times says that in New York, a study found that 75% of frontline workers in the city, grocery clerks, bus and train operators, janitors, and childcare staff are minorities. More than 60% of people who work as cleaners are Latino, and more than 40% of transit employees are black. So instead of bringing up all of that and saying that, okay, since a lot of that community, y'all community, is involved with this type of work, we need to put in more protections. Me meaning the government needs to put, because I don't get why he was up there putting the responsibility all on the community. It's like, girl, the people at the top of government have been so incompetent and purposefully discriminatory in the past. Like, girl, where are they gonna get the resources from that easily? So yeah, instead of talking about all those things, we need to make sure we put in protections, especially if we know that these communities are more likely to be exposed in this way. Instead of speaking about it from a common sense, research-based point of view, he went up there and started, do it for your mom, do it for your pop, and your granddaddy. I said, you know, get me off the planet. I don't know if I need to put that on a shirt. Get me off the planet. But on that note, thank you all so much for watching my crazy ass. I hope that your weekend is stress-free. I mean, we're gonna need some type of collective therapy after this is all done. And make sure you check out my Patreon at patreon.com/AdrianExpression. Look out this weekend for an announcement and make sure that you have a good goddamn evening.